Miss Brill is a short story by Katherine Mansfield. It is a third-person narrative that focuses on an afternoon's observations by Miss Brill. The story takes place in an unnamed French town, evident from the French name of the park, Jardins Publics, and the French spoken by a young couple by the end of the tale. It is a modernist writing that indulges in the power of suggestion rather than an explanation of events throughout the story. For instance, Mansfield writes that Miss Brill heard something crying by the end of the tale, suggesting to the reader that it is, in fact, Miss Brill who is shedding tears. The impersonal third-person narrative perspective focuses on Miss Brill such as Miss Brill was glad. It involves free indirect speech that voices the personal emotions through the stream of consciousness and internal monologues of Miss Brill as she refers to her first stole as dear little thing. Another modernist technique employed by Mansfield is epiphany or realization by Miss Brill that everyone puts on an act and performs a particular role in the grand play called life. Every Sunday, a lady named Miss Brill routinely goes to a local park, called Jardins Publics, to listen to a band playing music and watch people. Miss Brill is a school teacher and reads to an elderly gentleman during the week, and it's hinted that she's unmarried. On this specific Sunday, she wears her first stole around her neck for the first time this season and whom she admiringly calls Little Rogue. She enjoys observing people, feeling like they're all part of a grand performance. Miss Brill observed, an old couple sat beside her silent and still, two soldiers meeting two girls, a woman with a donkey. A young boy handing a woman bouquet of flowers that she previously dropped but now she threw them away, a sad woman with an ermine toque left by a man, and four girls knocking over a man enjoying the band's music. She finds it captivating until she realizes that she, like everyone else, is an actor in this play called life. This epiphany reminds us of the famous Shakespeare quote, "All the world's a stage." Miss Brill thinks everyone shares her feelings as the band plays. But she's shocked when a young couple ridicules her, sitting on the end of the same bench as her. She overhears the boy calling her that stupid old thing at the end there. Why does she come here at all? Who wants her? Why doesn't she keep her silly old mug at home? Followed by the girl referring to Miss Brill's first stole to a fried whiting fish. She returns home, skips her usual treat of a slice of honey cake from the baker's shop, and packs away her fur, but when she put the lid on she thought she heard something crying. Miss Brill's loneliness is clear as she spends her Sundays in a public garden, quietly watching people from a distance. She calls her first stole her little rogue and the other visitors in the park the others. She yearns for a sense of communal connection and belonging but faces rejection. Miss Brill muddles the boundaries between her imagination and reality when she goes to the park. She believes she's a part of a grand play, though she's just sitting on a bench alone. The story switches between what Miss Brill thinks and what's happening. In one world, she's a simple schoolteacher who enjoys volunteering and her Sunday outings. In her inner world, she sees herself as a great actress and treats her first stole like a living creature. Her grasp on reality starts to slip as she pets the fur in the park. The moment of realization about her loneliness hits her hard when she overhears a young couple mocking her. The story's final sentence, "But when she put the lid on she thought she heard something crying," suggests that she doesn't immediately recognize her sadness. And this fuels the quiet tragedy of the story. Miss Brill's generous perception of others, believing everyone plays a part in life's drama, adds a poignant layer to her Sunday rituals' collapse even more heartrending and the loss of the meaning she attributed to it. Miss Brill's dreamy ideas about the people in the park clash with the harsh truth of how they truly feel about her. This brings out the theme of how what you think and what's real can be different. She envisions the park as a stage, with herself as an actress, but her illusions are shattered when she overhears a young couple's hurtful comments about her. The story shows how Miss Brill lives in a fantasy world, blending truth and make-believe. She tries to merge both worlds, but she realizes they can't exist together. The rude comments from the young man make her see how others perceive her, dressed in fur and always watching but never engaging with others. It's like she's an outsider. These revelations push her to let go of her imaginary world, even though it hurts. Miss Brill has an epiphany or a moment of realization. She believes that life is like a play, and the weekly routine of going to the public gardens is a performance where everyone plays a part. She understands that people are both the audience, watching others, and the actors aware that they're being watched. Thus, she sees people as both actors and spectators, which is similar to Shakespeare's As You Like It in that all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. But there are hints that Miss Brill's epiphany may not be entirely accurate. For example, it's mentioned that someone would have noticed if she hadn't been there, but it's clear that they wouldn't really care, and they might even prefer it. Miss Brill imagines everyone singing along in the park, but this idealized vision is met with tears in her eyes. Miss Brill imagines her own fancy world in the park. She brings her first stole to life and gives personality to the people she watches. This imagination helps her escape from the dullness of everyday life. She enjoys watching people and imagines the interesting complex lives they lead. While everyone else is active, she just passively sits and watches. She's often focused on couples, perhaps she wants love but feels more comfortable watching from the sidelines than participating, which could be a sign of low self-esteem. In her imaginary world, Miss Brill is not the main character but the one who starts the show with a song. When a young couple, presumed by Miss Brill to be the hero and heroine of the show, makes fun of her and her fur, it hurts her deeply. Miss Brill's sense of identity is closely tied to her weekly ritual in the park. When this identity is shattered by the harsh words of the young couple, she struggles to come to terms with her sense of self. The young man's comment might seem irrelevant, but it reveals how fragile Miss Brill's spirit is. When Miss Brill puts away her cherished first stole, it's like she's letting go of her daydreams of being an actress. The imagined cry from the box symbolizes her own sadness and the finality of her imagination. Miss Brill's first stole represents her illusion of grandeur and importance. She affectionately refers to it as her little rogue, personifying it as a companion. As the story progresses, the first stole's significance evolves. It symbolizes the fragility of Miss Brill's identity and her desperate attempts to cling to a sense of self-worth. When she puts the fur away at the end, it symbolizes her retreat from the deluded world. The Jardins public, where Miss Brill spends her Sundays, is symbolic of her desire for connection and her search for meaning in her life. She sees the park as a stage and herself as an actress, highlighting her longing for a more exciting and fulfilling existence. The young couple who cruelly comments on Miss Brill symbolizes the harsh reality of the outside world and its judgmental nature. Their words shatter her illusions and represent the confrontation of her fantasy with the truth. The music played in the park is symbolic of Miss Brill's escapism. It provides a soundtrack to her Sunday rituals and adds to the theatrical nature of her fantasies. When the music stops abruptly at the end, it highlights the abrupt end of her illusion. The elderly couple in the story represents the passage of time and the inevitability of aging. Miss Brill's observations of them emphasize her own fear of growing old and alone.